Hello everyone, welcome to the 2019 Solar Tax Credits webinar put on by Simpleray. My name is Matt Bellhumer, and we'll get started in just a few moments after a few more people file in. All right, let's get started. Once again, thanks for attending. The Solar Investment Tax Credit has been one of the most important federal policies that has spurred the adoption of solar in the United States. And it is going to start ratcheting down the amount of savings beginning next year. 2019 is going to be a pivotal year as there's going to be a lot of demand to get that full tax credit before it starts to expire. So topics we'll go over today, just sort of some background on that, on the federal investment tax credit, the impending deadlines, how you can take advantage of it, and other incentives that will continue to keep solar affordable and our industry strong. So what is the solar tax credit? It's a credit that reduces the taxes owed by 30% of the total cost of a solar installation. More or less, if you have a $30,000 installation, $10,000 of that would be recouped through savings on your taxes. It was originally authorized by the Energy Policy Act in 2005, George W. Bush, extended for 8 more years in the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008. And the current drawdown schedule was set in the 2015 bill. This great legislation and continued legislation has spurred over $140 billion in economic activity, created 350,000 solar jobs, and well over 60 gigawatts of installed capacity here in the United States. Again, it is definitely one of the largest drivers of the solar revolution here in the United States to date. So how do tax credits work? They are, as I mentioned before, a dollar for dollar reduction in federal taxes owed. So if you owe $10,000 and have a $3,000 tax credit, you're only going to owe the government $7,000. And a lot of people say, well, I don't owe the government any money. And that's really just because they take it out of your paycheck every month. And so you did pay taxes. So almost everybody that pays taxes can use this tax credit, because you must have tax liability to utilize the tax credit. If you have other tax shelters or somehow a non-taxable entity, the tax credit can't be used unless you are paying taxes. But the entity that pays for the project gets to claim the tax credit. So it doesn't have to be the owner of the property or the person that lives at the home or works at the business. Whoever writes the check for the project gets to claim the tax credit because it is considered a pass-through tax shelter. So just a few details. Any portion of the commercial tax credit can be used over a 20-year period, and it's 5 years for residential. What this means is that it's very flexible. So if you don't have the $30,000 or the $10,000 worth of tax liability in year 1, you can break that up over 2 years, 5 years, 20 years. You can also amend the previous year's taxes to take advantage of the incentive on your taxes already paid. There is no cap. It's just all based on the amount of money that you're going to spend on the solar installation. And again, 2019 is the last year to claim the full 30%, which I believe will have some significant impacts towards the end of the year, as there is sort of a rush to take advantage of it. So who can use the credit? It's really anybody who pays taxes. It's available for commercial and residential property owners that have tax liability. It is particularly advantageous for closely held companies, family businesses, because essentially the business buys the solar array, but because the business owner is also the business, that tax credit is passed through to his personal tax return, his or her personal tax return, and that is very valuable to business owners. And again, is if you are a business owner, it's something you definitely want to take advantage of now rather than in 5 years. If you have tax liability and you're not a business owner but you're a homeowner, it's probably still for you, and you can take full advantage of that tax credit today. So the full solar tax credit is set to expire in 2022 for residential properties. Commercial properties will have a reduced percentage. I believe the floor is 10% now. That may change with future legislation. In 2019 will be the last year you can use the full 30% of the cost as a tax credit. So the clock is ticking, and it's ticking on everybody else. So there's going to be some pressure all throughout the United States on the capacity to install as we get closer to the end of the year. Again, through 2019, we have a 30% tax credit. Then it's dropping down to 26% in 2020, 22% in 2021, and then in 2022, it will sort of floor out at 10%, and then who knows where it goes from there. It'll be up to the current administration and how they see the wind blowing. So after 2022, residential properties at this point will no longer be eligible for any tax credit. The commercial properties will have that 10% floor. And really what that means is the cost of solar will have gone up 20 to 30% in just 3 years. That's a pretty significant increase. So if you don't want that to happen, you need to go out and start the process now and take full advantage of that tax credit before it sunsets. So how do you take advantage of it? Call Simpleray. You can work with one of our renewable energy consultants. They'll design a system to your specifications, prepare your quote, answer questions, just really make you feel comfortable with it. You write the check, we'll install the solar array. When it's time to pay taxes or when it's time to amend your taxes, it's a couple of easy forms to fill out. In fact, to claim the ITC, it's just one page. And you can save on the total cost of the system as well as generate your own energy for decades to come. It really is a win-win for everybody. So a few other incentives that aren't going away. A lot of people are concerned that with the sunsetting of the investment tax credit that's going to really stagnate solar development in general. There's local tax credits available. There are state and local rebates and other competitive incentives. SREC programs are sort of ramping up all over the United States, and those will continue to move the industry forward and continue to make solar affordable. Just not so much at a federal level. It's now going down to the states for them to figure out how they're going to fill their renewable portfolio initiatives. In summary, in 2019, the ratchet will increase urgency for both commercial and residential customers. I'm concerned that demand may outstrip installed capacity, which is going to cause longer wait times, longer procurement times, and just honestly the potential to lose the value that's sitting on the table now. The Smart Buy will begin the process now. We'll go out and get that quote, start working through it, getting permits. Everything takes time, and the end of the year is a lot closer than anybody thinks. So to guarantee maximum savings, now is the time to act. So again, kind of open it up and see if there's any questions. I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, but I'll get a few in. Is there any way for a church to take advantage of the tax credit? Long and short is no. Tax-exempt organizations cannot utilize the tax credit. However, they can have a benefit from it if there is a third-party ownership situation like a power purchase agreement or a lease, because they are getting a reduced cost of the system because somebody else is benefiting from that. tax credit, and so it does reduce the cost of it. So they get a benefit. It's just not as significant as if they did pay taxes, but not paying taxes is a pretty significant benefit as well. So if I install my array in 2019, what year do I use the credit for? 2019 or 2020? You can use it for each, or for either 2019 or 2020, because you can amend previous year's taxes. Oh, I'm sorry, no, or even 2018 you can use, because you can amend the previous years, or you can use it, any portion of it, for the additional 20 years after installation. Like I said, it's very versatile, and almost anybody, if properly planning their cash flows and everything, can take advantage of the ITC with just a little bit of planning. Oh, so somebody's asking, so if the credit is worth more than my taxes, than I pay in taxes, do I get what remains in payment? So, no, it's a non-refundable tax credit. What you would do is you would just roll it over to the next year. So if it's $10,000 and you only have $5,000 worth of tax liability, you would just take the $5,000 and roll it over to the next year, and maybe you only had $2,500 the next, and on until it's used up over a 20-year period. And if you don't pay that much in taxes over a 20-year period, then lucky you. As a farmer, am I able to use depreciation in addition to the tax credits? Yes, farms are considered commercial properties, so they get to use the full, the Maker's 5, or the current depreciating the asset in 1 year, or 20 years if you want to do traditional depreciation schedule. I guess they're telling me I'm out of time here, so thanks for watching. Please give us a call if you can, or email us. We'd be happy to help you take advantage of the tax credit. And have a great day.